little is crying for you.
Little bye. You ready to get rid of me for a week?
What? No! Why would I? I'm gonna miss you like crazy.
I'm heading on a trip.
Going on a trip.
Why do I seem shorter than you?
Because I'm tall.
You're not taller than me.
You are taller, actually, so I don't really know what's happening.
I don't either, but it's okay. I feel like
Maybe I'm sitting.
when I sat here,
Oh, here we go.
when I sat, it went down.
Do you need me to go lower?
Like that elevator thing where you go down, down, down.
Okay.
There, how's
high
that?
should I go?
Maybe try to be even with me. I don't know.
That
Is
seems
this seeing
realistic.
me at all? It's seeing you. That's what I wanted to focus on. All right, so I am here in Niger now, right? So I was on a trip as a second shooter with Tara, and we went to Chad and then Niger. And so I was the second shooter. You were the main shooter for a client, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's my second time. Let me introduce you first of all.
Oh, no.
I'm like sitting here. You're like, who is that person? She's going down on her. This is what it's like all the time, people. I'm just telling you right now. We have fun. We really do. So this is Tara Shupe, a wonderful, wonderful humanitarian photographer and filmmaker.
I didn't pay him to say that.
Yeah, you did actually.
I
But
did, I noticed.
pretty much a lot. So, but she really is good. Check out her work. I'll have a link on here as well. But yeah, check her out. She does really good stuff. And I wanted to encourage everybody that if you are just starting out with humanitarian work and you know you're invited to be a second shooter, whether you take a hit financially, whether you do it for free, do it. It's really beneficial. It helps me. One, like I can see how other people do it. Like for instance, Tara is a great storyteller. She approaches things in an intimate way, shows how to shoot it, and I really get a lot from that. Like it's not just shooting and you're done. Like you kind of learn and you kind of evolve your own style, and you can kind of see how others do it. And it's really been beneficial for me to kind of see what you do and how you do it, and it's been great. So on this channel, what I want to do is kind of bring you in a little bit, show you kind of how others do things, but also, you know, show you what it's like to really be a humanitarian photographer and filmmaker. So we're going to do this from time to time. We'll have some guests on and we'll kind of get a little bit of an interview. So today, we're taking off here. We're flying in like a half an hour, so we don't have a lot of time. We had this whole trip, we wanted to do this, and now it's just like, here it is. So
You're doing really well at this.
No,
You're
no,
like
I'm
a
not.
natural.
I am not a natural.
Yeah.
You're a natural, actually.
No, I actually feel very nervous on the other side of the camera.
No, I'm not a natural at all. I feel very odd on this side of it. Do you feel that too?
No, I feel it. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I feel actually like very like, oh, like, but it's good. Then you
Yeah.
know how other people feel.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
you're really owning this. It's really good.
I'm trying, but
Yeah.
I got a long ways to go. Trust me, if you saw my other videos, you'd be like, wow, Bob's a stiff. He's really like,
No,
here I am
it's
like
good.
reading things.
I feel like this is like very professional.
Oh,
Okay,
thanks. Okay, let's get into it.
and especially the background he painted.
Oh yeah, by the way, we chose this spot because really we had no other spot to choose. We couldn't go out, but this is like you get a Miami feel, but
Yeah,
we're in Miami, right? Miami?
Niami.
Miami. It's
It all
close to
depends
Miami.
how you want to say your ends.
Hence, we chose the Miami backdrop. So anyway, let's get into it. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a couple questions. So how would you describe your style? your filmmaking and or photography style? Because it's great. Like, I actually love your work. Like, you do really good work.
I used to do the whole, like, I'm a natural light photographer. But really, I think what that broke down to was I love, like, earth tones and natural feels. Maybe not so much full whimsical, but yeah, I feel like I describe myself as, like, not so much grungy, but earth tones with maybe a bit of, like, grainy feel, and just, like, really focusing on natural light. I think lighting is the most important thing that you can think about, photo or video wise.
And one thing I really learned from you, like when we were in Tanzania and it was raining outside, I'm like, oh, we're not going to get any good shots. And you went in and you were inside and you saw this sheer over a window, and you're like, I'm going to move you to the sheer. So she moved this lady to this in front of this window and got the most beautiful shot. Like, it was more like a silhouette type of shot. Do you remember that shot?
Oh, well, I'm thinking of a different one. I'm thinking of, it also rained. We were doing an interview and we moved Esther inside.
Yes, that's the one I'm
thinking. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay. I was like, that's the one
Exactly.
I'm thinking of, but
No.
And there was, like, curtain movement, and, you know, sometimes, especially in work like this, things happen, and you have to be able to adapt and be creative with the elements that you're given. And that one definitely felt like we were stuck in this little room and there was really nothing to work with, and suddenly I look and I'm like, oh, like, there was Esther's side silhouette of her face and the curtain just kind of like
It was a
moving.
great shot. And to me, like, I'm thinking, oh, great, it's raining outside. We just ruined the shot that we had in our mind. And you're looking at, you know, light and, like, look for, you know, a good situation. And you made a really good situation.
Yeah,
It ended up being one of my favorite shots of the whole trip. Like, I was like, and here it was, like, it was raining and you just made the most of it. And you were looking. So the whole point of that is, like, look for light. Like, you know, whatever situation you're in, there's light. Whether it's raining and it's a bad situation, just kind of look around. I see you do that a lot. You're just like, look around and be like, okay, what can I make out of this?
I'm actually just lost.
Yeah, that's
But it is.
I didn't know.
We both kind of do. It's like when you go into a school, you look for, like, it's always a very similar, like, you have the doorway or the one or two windows, and they're always very dark in there, but that light is so fun to play with, and you add dust to it, and then you get, it's just these really creative moments, but you have to look for them, and you can't just be like, oh, we're working with just X amount of light. And I think that's all what photography and filmmaking,
Yeah.
at least in this way, I think is all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do a really good job at that. How did you get started in this space, like humanitarian work?
That's a long-winded answer, because I feel like it's definitely something that for me was over time. It wasn't, you know, I get a lot of people that ask, like, how to get involved in this, and I think we naturally want things to be like, okay, I start here, I'm at point A, point B, and then there I'm at, you know, but it's about building relationships, and for me it was finding, like, small grassroots, I say finding, I think it was a mutual finding that I saw either built a relationship or made a friend that we were like, oh, they're working in X country and maybe I can come help you guys. But my original love for humanitarian work was just off of doing volunteering in, like, college. I already was passionate in doing photography, and I just started really loving that story of what I was seeing happening. And I hate what I'm saying about this.
No, it's good. It's really good, actually. It's helpful.
I feel like I could ramble
Like,
about it forever.
do you remember,
but
like, your first client that you had? Like, and you're like, oh, maybe I can make money doing this. Like, do you remember that, or was it just kind of gradual?
it felt so gradual. Also because, I mean, the first time I took a camera to Africa was in 2011. And I remember thinking every shot I took was going to be Nat Geo quality. Like, I was volunteering. It was absolutely nothing that had to do with me being there for my camera. But I was like, that was when the first moments of me realizing it was truly a passion.
Yeah.
And that my degree, in which my degree was in fine art and graphic design, basically, I was like, okay, I really love photography, but can I actually use creative skills in this way? I had no idea. So I just kind of kept trying to, like, make those connections, and I'm trying to think first time I thought it would make me money. Okay, I guess just like the first time I got paid,
Yeah.
which very quickly you realize the value is there and you should be paid.
Yeah.
So even if it was very little, it was more like how much could I grow it to be truly the income I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And that just takes time.
Yeah, it does take time. And that's for me too. Like it just kind of gradually, like the more work you do, the more you put out there. You know, even for me, like I started out like doing it for free, doing it for very cheap. And it just kind of like grows as you go along. You know, do your best work even if it's cheap and free, you know, because that builds it up.
But don't undervalue yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, I looking back, I wouldn't regret any of the things I did, but it's how you approach them and how you let yourself, you know, if you're going to volunteer your time, let's put it that way, then put restrictions on it and still value what you are giving, and don't sell your soul. And just keep setting those goals. And it's just like growing portrait photography or wedding photography or whatever it is that you're doing. Just make sure that you're always putting a value on you. And the one thing I've learned is that the more I value myself, the more other people value me, my time, and my work.
Good advice. Very nice. I love that. Thank you. How many countries now have you been to? I'm just curious. Do you even know the number?
I actually don't know, but I think it's in the 30s.
Wow. That's quite a bit.
But
and there's 189 countries, you've been to 30 of them. That's pretty...
It's not as much as some, but I also feel like I'm a very, you know, I'm really happy to go, most of my countries I go to again and again. So like India, I'm going next month, it'll be my 4th time. And as much as I'd love to add like another country number, to me it's like, how cool is that? Like to create like more longer lasting relationships and build on those and work in the same countries and feel just almost more like comfortable working there, then I would say like even this assignment, it was completely new, very exciting, but the harsh conditions were something I'd never worked in before. So it was like, oh, I wasn't, to some extent, was I prepared for this?
It was tough.
It was hard,
Yeah, that was, even for me, that was something. I knew it was going to be warm, I knew it was going to be dusty, but to experience
warm.
it and get
That's kind.
Warm. What was it, 117?
It was like so freaking hot.
You can't see anything, the dust on the sun. You can't even see your screen. It was challenging for sure.
You get it.
I know we got to keep moving on. What's your favorite part of the work that you do? Do you have a favorite part? And your least favorite part, I guess, too.
Let's see. Well, I love women's stories, but in terms of just my favorite aspect of, I still feel like photo is my heart, and having creative moments focused on photo is my absolute favorite. And especially if it's with women and you add like a powerful story with it, and I think that's my absolute dream scenario. Now the cool thing about film is that's just added like another element to think of, but it's kind of nice to focus on just one. And I'd say photo is still my favorite part.
And your photos are beautiful. They are pieces of art. Like that is art.
You're being so nice, Diddy.
It's true. I'm always nice.
He is always nice. I know. I just don't take compliments well.
Whatever. All right. What are some of your, maybe we talked about this a little bit, but what are some of your suggestions of people wanting to start out in this type of space? Do you have any, like, just like someone says, hey, I would like to do this. I'm already doing, like I'm doing weddings or I'm into that, but I'd like to do some humanitarian work.
I do get, people ask that a lot. And I think the biggest thing I ask them is why. Like, why do you even want to be in this space? And I think people get caught up on thinking of the exotic portraits or like these moments that, yes, they are beautiful and they're so unique and you cannot replicate them. But why do you feel like you could elevate, one, someone's story, and two, for the elevation of a nonprofit and their mission? And if you think of it first steps in that way, I just think that's so much better than just going, how do I do this? Instead, like, if you're into weddings, like, why do you want to tell couples stories? And why is that something you're passionate about? Why are you even passionate about photography? So I like to ask them that and just get that conversation going. And if they're still like, this is where my heart is, then I would just say the next step is to just keep trying to create relationships with someone that maybe you could start out going and helping them tell a story. And I, again, am very pro don't undervalue yourself. I don't suggest doing it for free, but if that feels right to you, then maybe go ahead and just be a volunteer and take a camera and go that route.
Yeah, and I love like focusing on like not what you can get out of it, but focusing on the organization, what their goal is, and what they want to get out of it. Because it's really about them. Like you're helping them tell a story, right?
Yeah, I think that gets confused because in a lot of ways we are in advertising and marketing, and nonprofits run campaigns on certain topics, and it's not like it would be very different if I came to a country and shot just for Tara Shupe photography.
Yeah.
I would be shooting with my own story in mind, or just whatever is beautifully unfolding before me, but you suddenly have like priorities and shot lists, and that's a whole other aspect to the way that I work is like doing that planning beforehand and really understanding what the client wants and needs, not what I think I just want to go photograph in some country.
Yeah, because it's ultimately not about you and what you capture, but it's about them and the story. Yeah, great advice. What kind of challenges do you face culturally when you do photos and videos overseas?
I think it's pros and cons, but being a woman, definitely in a lot of these countries, women are definitely viewed not equally. And so the pro side of that is I can kind of get in very intimate conversations with women, and I think that they don't feel as intimidated as a man just sitting there interviewing them. But vice versa, if I was trying to interview a man or have any respect needed in that way, then it would be more difficult. And I don't think I haven't so much experienced it, but it's something, in other words, it's not like a negative thing that happens to me, but it can depend on how you're working, and I don't know if that's a good answer.
Yeah, it is. It's a good answer. Yeah, it's tough, and I think too, like there are challenges. Like a lot of times, like we came here and they don't speak English. So there's a challenge of that, right? Like trying to get across, like don't look at the camera, act natural. Try to get that across, because a lot of people just like stand there and like, I'm on camera, and they try to give their best, but you want to capture it naturally, right? And so getting that across sometimes is kind of tough. So for me, that's kind of what that is. But and the other thing I wanted to say, not really culturally, but just like some of the things maybe that you think people have a misconception about, like working in this space in a different country. Like a lot of people see your work like, oh, you're on a nice trip.
You're on a trip.
Yeah, like, oh, that's nice.
How was your vacation to Chad?
So tell us about that a little bit. Like, like maybe some things that people don't know. Like they think, oh yeah, it's just a nice trip. Like, but what are some of the things that you have to deal with?
It's just really difficult elements most of the time, and you're packing more gear than clothes. You're dealing with just really stressful situations with people questioning, at the airport with all of your equipment. Sometimes I know I have to go, maybe I shouldn't say this, with certain visas or permits because of the organizations I'm with, if they're affiliated in certain ways, that you don't want people knowing how much equipment you have, so that's stressful. And then the environment, I think people think is glamorous in whatever way they might think it is, but like I'm sure Bob is going to show, but like, it's bucket showers, it's not having electricity, it's not having service. These are all things that are not going to kill you at all, but you do have to be a type of person that is okay with that. And if it's throwing you off that much, then how can you focus on working? And people, I think that's fun, and it is for me fun. But
for some people, it may not though. Like I probably will show that clip of where we're, what we were showering with the little, toilet right there, and you can't smell. Unfortunately, you can't smell what it was like.
But it's also like I think the biggest thing, the longer I've been doing this, is like I'm exhausted, and our shoot days are often like, you know, 4 to 5 a.m. wake up times, and then it is trying to back things up till 10 p.m. or later at night.
Yeah.
And you know, you're not getting. This is no, you know, like you're not eating proper meals throughout the day. You're eating on the fly. You're constantly working and hauling things, and trying to just mentally stay in a good space and healthy in environments where, like, I know on this trip, all of us had just issues at different times because the elements were hard. So
we all
you're trying
went down.
to be creative and stay. Yeah, we all had it.
We all went down.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
It's really exhausting.
It is, and like you said, like a lot of people don't see that. So you're shooting until it gets dark.
Yeah.
Then you have, you know, I got to back up my cards.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like even on this trip, you don't have electricity, so you're trying to get a generator. The generator gets turned off halfway through, so you're like running on half batteries. So it's not like, you know, that easy all the time. There's many challenges that you just have to work through and figure out. But it's rewarding. But it's not as simple and easy as it can as it could be in the States.
And that's my other, like, when people ask about being in this field and they seem so eager, that's kind of the second thing I'd want to talk them through. And it's not to, like, scare someone away. It's simply like, are you willing to work hard enough to make these very long, exhausting days? And we all know that when this is all over, you go home and it's a whole different type of working. And you're going to be editing for days, weeks, months, depending on the project.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up here because
you need to go
I have to shower. And we have to leave in about 15 minutes. So anyway, thank you all. You just want to be close to the camera. It's been on you the whole time.
Has it?
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself.
I'm probably
in
out
that
of
thing.
focus.
And I also felt like
all right, let's say bye one more time.
Oh, okay.
All right. Anyway, bye guys. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll have more of these, and hopefully you go follow Tara Shupe. Shoop-a-doop. I don't dance. All right. So you want to be a humanitarian filmmaker or photographer? Are you sure? This is what we have to deal with sometimes. We're taking a shower, and sometimes your coworker or person that you shoot with is showering right next door, and she almost walked in on me.
I don't want to be a humanitarian photographer either right now.
So sometimes, not only do you have to deal with cultural differences, cultural food, but you also have to take a shower culturally the way they do, right? Am I right over there, Tara?
Hi, as my head is going to be in the bucket.